Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast. On that note, what's your take on
running over pedestrians?
Yes, and if it's political, does that mean the fact that it's illegal is less relevant?
Well, apparently, because there's a protest going on at our government buildings right now where people are just fucking laying on the horn all day and all night, and the cops are just standing by and not giving out noise violation tickets.
Well, they've given some, but like not many.
Well, did you see the
they just have $10 million to pay off all of their...
The protest of the protest leader released a statement that says we're working closely with the Winnipeg police.
Yeah, 100% they
because the police are part of the protest.
100% they are.
Oh, I love it.
This surprises no one. So this is alcohol can you start it?
The Bois where we as
I legitimately fucked that up. I don't know where I was going with that.
It's called Alcohol Beyond This Point. It's a podcast. We talk about stuff. It's supposed to be business, but this is the second episode. This will be the third, but we've had 2 episodes previous to this where we didn't talk about business at all. Last episode was called Tyler is a Racist, all caps, confirmed, canceled in parentheses. How do you feel about that?
I feel like you're just trying to fuck with the SEO around my name while you improve your own.
No, the one before that was Willows is unequivocally a supporter of narco-terrorism.
Yeah, but that's just your brand.
What? What does that mean? No, my brand... Yeah, I'm really trying to... My business partner was like, can you stop tweeting about, like, evading your taxes? And then I'm like, nah, it's part of my brand that I'm just like, I just don't pay taxes. It's like that. I have that meme. I'll put it on the screen right now for the video viewers out there. It's a picture of Drake, the rapper. He has a song called Life is Good featuring Future, where he says, I haven't done my taxes, I'm too turned up. I think it is, he was saying like he doesn't even know how rich he is because he hasn't filed his taxes because he's drunk. And then it's a picture of me, and I'm like, this homie's spitting.
Wow, fantastic.
And then it's like
you make memes
it's
about
like
yourself.
Drake rapper, and that's like Willow's tax evader.
Puts it on Twitter, still doesn't get audited.
I have been anonymously reported to CRA on 2 separate occasions for
nice
for potentially tax evasion, and I have not been personally audited.
I bet you both times was.
I don't know who that is, but
yeah, you were talking to his wife, and then
oh,
it was.
I'll beep that out, but yeah, it was yeah. My basically what I assert now is that I can't morally pay my taxes because it just goes to corporate bailouts and the war machine. So I don't think any leftist should pay their taxes. Anyone who tells you to pay your taxes is a fascist.
I don't think the fascists want to pay their taxes either.
Well, then, if no one wants to do it, why is it even a thing? I don't get this.
Because you have to.
You don't have to do anything, obviously. Even yesterday, we were at the bar, and I was like, this is what our tax money funds, and I'm like, well, not mine, obviously, but
not mine, obviously. What tax money? Yeah, so we're at this point with a Canadian trucker convoy protest where it's
going on week 2 or 3.
Yeah, so it's hitting kind of like the global news stream and kind of maturing
fucking
that
like
way.
Ben Shapiro's retweeting like Winnipeg Free Press articles and shit. Like it's wild. Like
that's a new low. I think like it's sparking protests in other places, like in other countries.
Did you see there was like a Sweden or somewhere, Finland, something like that, an anti-lockdown, and they're fucking holding a Canadian flag.
Yeah, they got like 40 trucks to the Capitol or something. Yeah, so it's like it's a template that's working, and I mean, fucking good for them. It's, I would argue, not nearly as viral as any of the BLM protests were, but it's because
timing's also.
I think timing, important. It's winter and whatever. But I think broadly, as far as like people have more nuanced opinions about lockdowns and vaccine mandates than they do about being senselessly murdered by a cop.
Yeah, well, one person is just doing their job, and the other people are black. I don't know where I was going with that, but what do you think about like this whole? This maybe is kind of related, but this is just okay. That took me 4 minutes to say nothing. What do you think? So I think we can all agree, probably within 7 years, definitely within 10, truck drivers won't exist as a job anymore.
At least not in the capacity they do now.
I don't think they'll exist at all.
I think they'll still exist because I think short freight, like as long as people are driving their cars, you're gonna need people in trucks.
But
they're gonna be they're gonna be significantly assisted by autonomy.
Surely because why would you have a truck driver that can work 8 hours a day when you could have a truck that works 24 hours a day?
What I can imagine is truck drivers do the role of like they drive the truck for like the last leg of the journey.
Well, it's like pilots.
Yeah.
Right? They don't really fly the plane anymore. It's
all
autopilot.
Yeah, maybe they're in the truck the whole time. Maybe they're not in the truck the whole time. Maybe they sleep while the thing is moving along. But that just sounds like a worse job, honestly.
Well, yeah, but the capitalists don't give a shit about what a worse job is.
I mean, they're already having a shortage of drivers. Like, if they make it worse.
Yeah, that's fair. But then there's going to have to be some laws that change. Like, okay, for instance, in my industry...
That's the real restriction, not the technology. It's going to be the legal structure.
Yes, 100%, yeah. Well, that's like fucking Teslas are capable of full auto in non-snowy places, right. And most governments just won't let them do it.
Right. Most insurance companies don't want to go there.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess like all I know about this is from my industry because Anheuser-Busch bought like
everyone
fucking 2,000 self-driving semis to move beer across the country.
Okay.
They're like the first company to do it, and they have like fully autonomous driverless semis that they're allowed to like drive through certain states like Texas and stuff from like one end to the other to move beer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's significantly more efficient than obviously having a human, because the human part of it is your biggest weakness, right?
You need snacks. You got to take a shit.
Well, and the whatever the road authority is called.
Here it's DOT. There,
yeah, Department of Transportation requires you to take whatever how many hours off after every hours of driving, and they will log you at booths at way stations to make sure, and they're like, how did you make a fucking 8-hour drive in 6 hours? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you get pulled over, they'll check your logs.
Yeah.
They check your load, they check everything.
And they're pretty strict about that here.
Very.
Very strict, yeah. And but so so just fucking send your robot.
Yeah.
Which I just find I think is ironic that a lot of these trucker protesters are not anti-government, they're anti-liberal government.
Yeah.
Right? And they think...
a lot of them are very pro-authoritarian. It's just their agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Well, white supremacists are mostly, I think... Authoritarian, right? They're not... Like, it's not like they're...
fascist adjacent.
Yeah, it's not like they're anarcho-Nazis. Is that that's definitely a thing. But...
everything... Nazis have everything.
Everything is a thing. But I think there's... so it's not like they want to get rid of government.
No.
And then, ironically, like the capitalist system that's going to put them out of jobs or make their jobs significantly
my favorite
shittier.
Part, Elon Musk, who's their champion because he tweets their shit and promotes them, is one of the biggest
proponent. He's the one that's
biggest proponent of autonomous trucks and getting rid of their jobs.
Yeah, which is poetic, I think, in a lot of ways.
I think I mean, great. You got a retweet from the world's richest man, and he's gonna be like, ha ha ha, and then he never thought about you again. Unfortunately.
Yeah, there's I forget who said it, but there's a famous, I think, capitalist economist from like a long time ago that was projecting by like this year, because labor will have gotten so automated, humans would have to, like, a normal work week would now be like 10 hours a week.
Right. So it's like an abundance. It's like a post.
It's a paradox kind of thing where.
Yeah. What do you call it? Like a post scarcity.
Yeah. Where we're obviously not post scarcity, but we are, because if you look at a chart of how much productivity has increased, it doesn't align with how little. Like, what I'm trying to say is they keep workers. The proletariat keeps the workers working the same amount of hours or more over the last like 50 years, while productivity is skyrocketed.
Right.
So our capitalist overlords, I'm just going communist for this episode, I don't know, are exploiting us more, because in theory we would have to work significantly less because of how efficient everything's gotten.
Right, but that would assume redistribution of wealth and resources, which doesn't happen.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so the idea is, I mean, it's not completely evil, because maybe the hours worked could be reduced. Like, everyone, I think what's the actual statistic of like the amount of time you need to work to feel fulfilled, and it's something like less than 18 hours a week.
I think it is around 18. Yeah, I think you're right. It's around 18 hours a week. They've done studies in Scandinavia, of like 5-hour days, 4 days weeks kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like 20-hour work weeks, and it's productivity doesn't really fall that much.
Yeah.
Like, as far as like manufacturing and stuff goes.
Oh, well, I would say manufacturing.
Well, but you have to also think about the amount of fucking manufacturing Scandinavia does.
Yeah.
Name something Sweden makes besides IKEA or like.
Well, see, I would argue manufacturing is very linear. It's like hours per widgets produced is very, very linear. Where you'd have the productivity maybe not change a lot is like a lot of knowledge-based work. Like, maybe you have an insurance company, whatever, and the office is open less hours, you probably would have a similar revenue base.
Yeah, but that's, I think, like most of like Sweden is
knowledge-based, service-based.
Is exactly that. So that's one argument against that kind of thing, is that when you have a manufacturing heavy economy like Canada or the United States, that might be harder to get into.
Actually, U.S. and Canada are both service-based biased, heavily service-biased.
Yeah, every developed nation is, though. But like, we manufacture a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah, we
like,
do.
Or less manufacturing, more so like resource processing.
Yes.
Which is all man heavy.
Yeah, it's trades related.
Yeah, like that shit.
Mines, oil, pipeline.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, manufacturing wasn't the right word, but more so like labor intensive businesses.
Here's a quick drop in the comments. If what was the thing that, like, where you grew up, what was the one thing that you knew that you could go do that was kind of a shitty job, but you would make a shitload of money? For us here as in Canadiana was pipeline work.
We could go work on the pipelines. Yeah.
I
never even work on the rigs.
Yeah, work on the pipeline.
Did you ever consider that?
Never seriously. It was I think the travel and the culture put me off more than anything else, not the work. It's just I didn't want the fucking work culture.
It's the work for me.
It seems super toxic.
I love the culture. It's the work for me. I love snorting Xanax and raw dogging hookers.
No, that's not my issue. It's just what you imagine, like, greasy, dirty, depraved tradespeople to be. That's the worst of the worst, is the ones that are on the road like that. Because
well, I'm sure you went to school with a ton of them.
When the thing is, when you're in a work camp with all men, and there's no
don't ask, don't tell.
Well, there's no accountability. There's no balance. Like, look at if you want to see what crime rates are like without women around, look at the mining camps at the gold mining camps that, when the prospecting era in California.
Everyone's beats the shit out of each other, gets drunk and
beats
the fuck
rates,
out of each other.
The murder rates are astronomical.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Like, it's so violent, it's so bad, it's so shitty.
Because right now, I'm having a stress day, right? Go have sex.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, I was being dumb. But you're fucking like, ugh, there's nothing to do in this gold mining town. I'm going to fight somebody.
Well, the thing is, when there's women around, men will, there's violence from competition, but it's like, it's within limits.
Yeah.
If you're super violent.
Oh, because if you kill someone in front of a woman, they're not going to like you.
Yeah, exactly.
But maybe if you win a fight, they'll like you. But,
exactly. If you're super violent, there's a lot of consequences.
Yeah.
But if you're a little bit violent, whatever. So that's how society works. Look it up. But anyways, I didn't want to be in these work camps, but I know one kid that did. He managed to hold on to his sanity, but he was in a special situation where he was like 2 generations grandfathered into a really good union.
Okay.
So his grandfather and his dad and his big brother were all in this union. So that cut off like 8 years off of his progress.
Right, for context, right when Tyler and I were graduating high school, oil was like over $100 a barrel. This would have been in the late 2010s or like early 2000s. You graduated 2013, right?
Yeah, let's say 2010 to 2018.
Yeah,
probably.
Oil was over $100 a barrel for the first time. So all these oil sands, which we have in Alberta here and Saskatchewan here in Canada, all of a sudden became viable because it used to be too expensive to extract the oil. But with oil being so expensive, so there was this boom of investment. Yeah. And we opened a ton of new rigs. And they were like just fucking looking for anybody. Yeah. So they would pay you right out the gate fucking $50 an hour with no education to go fucking work on these rigs.
And at these hours, you're looking at...
You're doing...
about $120,000 a year, and you're getting about 2 to 3 months a year off.
And you would usually do, from the people that I know, would do like 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Yeah. So you would go... live on the camp.
That's 14 days on, 7 off, and you work 14 straight.
Yeah.
And you're working 10 to 14 hour days usually.
Yeah, you work 14 days straight, but then they fly you back, and they pay for your flights back and forth, and they fly you back home, and then you get a week off. Yeah. And so all the people that I used to party with that worked on the rigs, they were, 18, 19, 20, no education, and frankly, a lot of them probably couldn't go to university even if they wanted to. Making $120,000 a year, and then then
it'd all go up their nose,
and then they would have a week off fucking work.
Yeah, and you spend it.
I used to party with these people because they'd fucking just come in with I'm like, oh, that is $1,000 of cocaine right there. Yeah, like just fucking bags of drugs, and I don't know if it happens on the camps, but I know
No,
everyone
they're very strict on camp.
Everyone I know that worked on the rigs loved having sex with prostitutes.
Oh, that was that's probably easier. You wouldn't get it on camp, but 5 minutes outside of.
Because I have nothing wrong with sex work. I would probably have sex with a prostitute if I knew where to find one. Where to even find these people? Here's something. Actually, here's a little caveat here before I finish the story. It's a phrase I think I probably heard in a movie, and I never got it. Even after I started having sex, I never got it. It's you don't pay a prostitute for sex; you pay her to leave afterwards. And I never...
Knowing sex workers, I would say that is not true.
Sure, but because... And I never even got it until pretty recently, last year. Mm. When my girlfriend was really annoying. And I'm like, man, I wish she'd just leave. And I'm like, wait, now it all makes sense.
That may have been true at some point.
I wish you would just leave after I had sex with you.
That may have been true at some point for some people, but I think broadly it's not true.
Okay, mister, I'm in a happy relationship.
No, I just think that most people's shit ain't so hot that she wants to stick around.
Anyway, so most of the people that I know that worked on the rigs, I know more than one that died because of snorting Oxycontin. Right. But then OPEC flexed their muscles a little bit. The Prince of Saudi Arabia said, I'm never letting fucking oil getting that expensive again. And a bunch of these rigs fucking closed in Canada because
the industry collapsed. And it was well known that in these fly in, fly out towns like Fort Mac and stuff, Fort McMurray, which pretty much burned down.
Yeah. And they just never rebuilt it, right? Because it's
well, they rebuilt most of it. But Fort Mac used to be way bigger. and there was such a fast and intense exodus of workers, and a lot of these guys who were working out there were higher skilled, like welders.
Of course,
stuff.
yeah. I was being.
Well, you talk about the labor pool, which is also true.
The people that I partied with
were not skilled labor.
Not fucking skilled laborers. Yeah. They were high school dropouts their parents were like, you gotta go to the fucking rig and work or you're out of my fucking house.
Yeah. So these guys, these skilled workers, these welding rigs are these like, brand
sorry, you're getting paid 120 G's and they're paying for your fucking food and lodging for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3 weeks a month.
Yeah.
So like you have so much goddamn disposable income.
And then you're also getting untaxable live out allowance, which is like an additional like $2,000 or $3,000
stipend or whatever to live out there.
Yeah, it's like an extra like $3,000 a month that's untaxable on top of your wages. Yeah. So yeah, it's like net to you, it's you're like over 100
G's. Like and you're 20 with no fucking with a failing high school grade. It's like that's a pretty attractive.
Yeah. So all these guys get fancy cars, fast trucks, whatever.
Yeah.
And there was. At the airports, there was just like parking lots full of these like $100,000 plus welding rig trucks that people just abandoned there because they like had this big payment on there that they could no longer afford, and they just abandoned it there for repo, for like the bank to go collect. Like, I'm not fucking driving that thing back home. Like, I'm shutting down. The rigs are shutting down.
It's like when the Soviets pulled out of Afghanistan and just left all the fucking equipment.
When everyone did that at one point.
Everyone did that like 6 different times.
And Afghanistan just wins every time.
Well, that's why that's why it's interesting to like watch Taliban. It's like the Taliban, the weapons they use. It's like you can tell it's different generations from different countries.
Yeah, the entire time they were fighting the U.S., it was using Soviet weapons.
They have fucking they have videos of them pulling out AK-47s out of the sand from 50 years ago. You wash them off and they fire perfectly.
Yeah,
those are fucking.
That's why they're the most commonly sold weapon in the world.
Commonly sold weapon and the most. That guy was a genius.
Yeah,
I think he said he just died like 5 years ago. Kalashnikov was his name. Which I think AK is like Alexei Kalashnikov.
Yeah,
and then he invented it in 1947.
Right.
That's why it's AK-47. He said like later in life, he's like, I wish I would have been famous for like not killing people or something, like something to that effect.
Yeah.
That was like, I wish my my legacy wasn't like the doom of like nations or whatever.
I wouldn't say the doom of nations. I would say it's the weapon of the people.
Well, that's what you ever watch that movie Lord of War with Nick Cage?
Yeah.
It's a true story about a weapons smuggler.
And fun fact, all the weapons in the movie were real because it was
cheaper than props.
Cheaper to get real weapons than props. The tanks and everything was real.
The skeleton in the pool in Poltergeist, that was a real human skeleton.
Oh, they used to do that
because it was cheaper than getting a prop. And they told
they always did that in movies.
I think if I recall, they told the actress that mid-take,
right,
while she was touching it. So then when she was freaking out, that was a real fear reaction.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I love film in the 80s and 90s.
That was the 70s, I think.
Worse.
Poltergeist, yeah. But that's they're here, the fucking TV.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. But yeah, in Lord of War, they said something like Nick Cage is justified being a arms dealer by basically saying like, I'm helping people liberate themselves.
Absolutely.
Armed revolution has been able to happen against oppressive governments because of the AK-47s that I'm selling.
It's only illegal weapons trading because the people that have all the power say, I don't want them to have guns. Because it's morally wrong.
But then like the opening cinematic is fucking awesome. Google that. Yeah. Lord of War opening cinematic. You're following the point of view of a bullet. Right. As it goes from like a factory in America to like South Sudan war. And it's like it keeps going black, and then like because you like get puts in a box and then reopens by like a different person on a dock, and then whatever, and then the last scene you see him take, because it's the point of view of the camera, it takes it and then shoots it out of a gun into a child's head. Yeah. Because like a child's soul, like a 10-year-old with a fucking gun. Yeah. And it kills it. And it's like, oh, like that's fucking amazing.
It's a great opener.
Kind of shit. Like I watched this movie like a year, maybe like 6 months ago again. Like I had watched it before. Aged CGI for sure. Mm-hmm. But really, I really liked it. I think it got poor critical reviews, but I fucking love Nick Cage.
I was gonna say like most of Nick. I watched actually the most recent Nick Cage movie that was him in this like weird post-apocalyptic world. It was all based in, I believe it was filmed in China because like pretty much the entire cast and extended cast was all Chinese, and there's like one white guy in the whole movie next to Nick Cage.
He does
a lot of low budget movies.
He does a ton of because he owes the IRS like $100 million.
Yeah, and
so he's just in like 30 straight to Netflix movies a year because he needs to fucking pay his bills. He's so many fucking back taxes he owes. But he's doing a movie. What is it? Edgar Allan Poe, I think. Like now, like this is just happening right now. They're filming it. He has like a pet crow that like insults him constantly or something. And he's doing this bizarre interview. I'll put a fucking link if I remember. But he did this bizarre interview. He's like, yeah, I have a crow and it insults me. It insults the size of my ass and stuff. And it's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'm suited for this role because I believe I am a goth. I have been a goth my entire life. It's just right. Nick, what are you talking? Like, Nick Cage is literally a crazy person. Yeah. But you look at him, like, he's a fucking capable actor. Like, when he's in something that's suited.
Oh, yeah.
He's
a great actor.
He's great. But he's simultaneously in some of the best films
and worst
performances and the fucking worst films.
National Treasure's got to be one of my favorite movies.
I mean, it's cheesy. It's a kids movie, but like he's not bad. Like for the material,
for the time and for the age group it was targeted to, it was awesome.
I'm gonna kidnap the fucking president of the United States.
But like the original one. But like
I'm gonna take the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, it was almost like it was kind of like
it's for kids.
It's like Ocean's 11 era of like
over the top heist movies.
Yeah, I thought it was really good, but yeah. Anyways, I've always loved Nick Cage, and
I love Nick Cage too.
So I watched this movie like in good faith, wanting to be a Nick Cage fan, and Carly's like, "I'm not fucking watching this." She's like, "I'm just gonna pass out," as she usually does, anyways.
Yeah.
So she passes out. I made it 45 minutes into the movie. I still didn't know what was going on. I couldn't quite get it, so I had the subtitles on. I still couldn't. I couldn't even catch the drift of the plot line. Like I got like what was happening, but like it, not like the why never made sense. The what was apparent. The why never made sense, and it's like I just found the movie almost unwatchable.
He just did a movie recently that was fucking phenomenal. It's I think it was an indie film. A24 may have produced it, but it was like this weird surrealist where his like wife gets murdered by a cult. And then it's like a revenge film, and it's like a lot of like weird like dream like sequences, weird colors and shit like that. But he's fucking does a great emotional performance in that. And then you watch other shit where it's like, I'm a vampire, and it's like, what are you talking? Like he's an insane person, and we love him. Also, I always forget this. I laugh every time. He's a fucking Coppola, like a fucking the guy Francis Ford Coppola, the guy that did The Godfather. He's like his nephew.
Oh,
changed his name because he didn't want to be but he didn't want to like he wanted to like get famous on his own.
Coattails,
yeah, he didn't want to be just thought of Francis fucking Ford Coppola's.
I didn't know.
But that is a law. That is he's a fucking Coppola.
That's cool.
He's on his 6th wife now or something, 5th or 6th wife. His last marriage, if I recall, lasted like 4 weeks. And there's a video of him in Vegas like 2 days after getting married, just screaming at her in a hotel, like from like a security cam.
He seems like a crazy / like self-destructive person that's probably domestic abuser.
I don't think
by nature being crazy.
I don't think it's ever been alleged, but I could see it.
Like, I'm not saying physical abuse, or I mean, like, guys screaming at his wife. Like, he'd probably just be hard to live with.
Yes.
But
in one of his 27 houses, or his castle, he owns a castle in Scotland.
Right. And then there's fucking Steven Seagal, who's just objectively a piece of shit.
Steven Seagal is a piece of shit. He's also a Russian plant at this point.
He's an everything plant. The guy knows more dictators than fucking Trump.
Yeah, he like brushes fucking. Yeah, it's weird.
Why proudly friends with like some awful, but like why some of the worst people in the world.
Why is like Putin friends with Steven Seagal of all people. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I think he's got to be like an Epstein-like figure for some reason, but not like pedophile ring related. Or maybe he's got something else going on.
Maybe it is pedophile ring related.
Maybe it is.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it'll come out.
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah. Alleged. This is all alleged. Please don't sue me, Steven.
So, anyways, I want to circle back to finish the pipeline
first.
thought. Okay, we're gonna take a shot first.
First of all, we will
shot caller.
Thank you. You got that right. You didn't get the name of the podcast right, but you got this right. This is the segment that we call Shot Caller, the part of the show where we take a shot, the audience picks. Today we are taking Mystery Shot. I have no idea. Should we make that a segment? Mystery Shot?
Sure.
So I have no idea what's in this.
Neither do I.
Well, it's some sort of whiskey. I have no idea what the brand is. It's from my flask because we are, which I want to talk about in a second, we are going on a ski trip right away.
Are we?
Tomorrow we are leaving, Tyler. Please tell me you remembered this.
I better get some skis.
True. We're going skiing tomorrow for 4 days, and I want to take my flask with me full on the hills, but it has like this much liquid in it still from just like whatever. So instead of like dumping it out, we're just going to drink it on the podcast.
Alcohol abuse.
And then I'll fill it to like before we leave.
Perfect.
So I have no idea what this is.
Cheers. I don't react to shots, but that was... Oh! That's oxidized as fuck.
Yeah, no shit. I think it's been in my flask for fucking months. No, not months.
I don't react to shots, and that one got me.
See, you know what's funny is that
Jesus Christ.
I usually react to shots, and I reacted less than usual.
I know, I was waiting for the hack.
We have very, very different tastes.
That was really harsh.
Well, good thing there's only like 4 more in here.
Oh, God. Okay, so, anyway, pipeline.
Yeah, so we're going to the pipelines. That's part of this podcast. We're trying to announce that we are retiring the podcast to go work on the pipelines.
So I just had kind of like recovered memory as you were talking about like another reason why I didn't go to the pipelines. It was generally that advice of anyone that makes that much money just wastes it, which I think is generally probably some of the most destructive advice I've ever gotten.
Were you fiscally responsible when you were a kid?
More than I am now in some ways.
Okay. I was extremely I had a toxic relationship with money where I had it's because my parents are both like government workers, like house is their biggest asset, no stock portfolio, like
there's no values around money.
But they always not that they sat me down and told me this, but I always got from them I need to save all my money because a penny saved is a penny earned kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And when I had several preneurs when I was a kid. Like I used to do freelance videography. My brother played a lot of sports. I would go to his games and record the videos and then edit them into like TSN style highlight reels, burn them onto DVDs and sell them to parents when I was like 12, 13. And then I, lemonade stands. Zach and I used to sell Coke from our lockers. Not that kind of Coke. We got shut down because rumors were spreading that we were selling Coke in our locker, but it was actually Coca-Cola. Yeah. Because it was the year after it was the same year they took out the vending machines as a health initiative for children.
So you got worse charges for the Coca-Cola than cocaine?
I don't think we actually got in trouble, but they just shut us down. But anyway, I had several preneurs when I was a kid, and I saved like 100% of that money. Mm-hmm. So we would go out to we wouldn't go out to restaurants because we were fucking teenagers, but like we'd go out to like McDonald's or whatever, right? Yeah. And I would never spend a cent. Right. And I would often, and then often people would feel bad and give me their food.
Right.
So then it became a meme that I was just like, you give Willows your fucking leftovers you couldn't eat.
Right.
I'd eat the pizza crusts and the fucking pickles off the burger and stuff. I was
the opposite. When I had money, I would spend it, but like I still, I would spend a percentage of my money on food, but like I've always made quite a bit of money for my age group, quite a bit more than average. I mean, now that I'm
because you started working pretty young, right?
Yeah. So like currently I'm probably like at or maybe a little above average for my age group. I'm not like way above average like I used to be.
See, I'm severely below
I was
my
I was always very free with my money. Like I would, I'd buy drinks for my friends. I'd buy food for my friends. I always buy gas. Like, I was always free with money, but I was still pretty good with it. Where shit started going downhill for me is like when I had a car that I had put quite a bit of money into. I blew the engine on it, and it was kind of like in a you're fucked or you're fucked situation where it was worth like 10 grand, but with a blown engine, it was
worth nothing.
It was worth nothing.
Yeah.
But a new engine costs like 5 grand, and it's like either I lose 8 grand or I lose 3 grand. So then I had to take my 8 grand of savings and put it into my vehicle, and then like another 2 things happened where like I moved into the city, and then a bunch of other stuff happened, and I got a lower income job. So I went from having like a huge cushion of savings to just like dwindling away to nothing, and then getting really bad financial advice, and then like slumping into debt. So like I've had a roller coaster in terms of finance, but the advice of like, if you go and get a job or you make a shitload of money, you're just gonna blow it all. I think it would have been.
Would your parents tell you that?
Yes. Man, I come from fucking Mennonite town. Like,
that's so weird.
They believe that making a lot of money is like evil.
Is sinful, right?
Yeah, it's if you're.
What
if
do they call
that? I don't know.
There's a name for that in the Bible, I think. It's like overabundance, right? Like it's like if you earn more than gluttony. Is that tie in with that?
It would just fall under gluttony.
But like so my
being capitalist in general, you're just to be a rich business owner means you're stealing from your workers.
Right. Yeah.
They're like communist adjacent, but
which is
all
funny
conservative.
Because all the heavy religious people are also fascists, so it's funny.
Yeah, they're fascist. They're fascist communists.
Perfect.
No wonder they're confused.
So I had a really toxic look at money because going out and not spending a cent because I think I need the money in the future is a bad way to look at it, right?
100% it is.
And when I was like, that continued until I was probably 19 or 20. After I had started, before we opened the business, but after I had started the project to start the business. Because even at, in the trap house, I would like, I'd bum cigarettes off people and then sell them back to them when they were drunk. Yeah. And I would make people wash out their empties and return them for money.
Right.
And all this shit and I would never, and then that's actually part of the reason why we started making our own alcohol, which became an actual winery, was because we didn't have the money to spend
or rather didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah, more so that because
you were focused on either saving money or producing your own value than you were at like going and earning money and spending it.
Yeah, because I never really had a job, and I lived on my own for 2 years before the business opened, and I just ate. I can
say, and that's unemployed, which is impressive.
100% unemployed. Yeah. And that was just burning through savings.
Yeah. That
I had from all my preneurs when I was a kid, and like I would get birthday and Christmas money. I would just not spend a cent of it. Right. And it's like, my friends would be like, "Oh, you want to go to a movie?" I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Don't worry, we'll pay for your ticket." I'm like, "Okay."
You buying? Yeah.
Yeah, like shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And around 19 or 20, I don't actually know. There wasn't any single event that comes to my head that changed my mind, but it was like, what was the point? I guess I got more into manifestation and stuff where like I don't necessarily believe in the universe being alive, and if you manifest something it'll happen in the universe. Like I don't necessarily believe in the cosmic side of that, but I believe in if you believe something personally, it gives you the positive, like it pushes you towards doing it because you already believe it in your head, and it's just like your mind's really powerful, right? You can will a lot, like you can will pretty much anything, right?
Manifest destiny.
Yeah.
That's actually basically, unironically, that's like Trump's religion.
Yeah. So, he loved the secret and everything, right? Like with
no, that's like he's a part of a sect of Christianity that like believes die hard in like manifest destiny, which is actually explains like the the election lies and stuff, where it's like, oh, if I say something and I believe it enough, it will come true.
Will it to be?
Yeah. Which is why he's just like he's a fucking compulsive liar and never ever admits that he's wrong, because he believes that if he just stays with the lie, it'll eventually be true.
But you hear me all the time,
which makes a lot of fucking sense if you had that context to him.
But you hear me all the time now I'm like, fuck it, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it, I'll buy everyone here drinks. I don't give a shit. I'm fucking rich as fuck.
But then you don't.
Well, yeah, obviously, but because Trump is my role model.
True.
But anyway, I kind of really changed from I don't need to spend. I can't spend anything to I need to just
relax.
Like, well, what's the point of fucking living and having money? And then I think the biggest thing that kind of switched my mentality was saying, like, I can't afford this versus saying, how can I afford this?
So you're saying a lot of cliches.
Sure, but like, you need to, like, I started thinking about, I'm just going to make more money.
Yeah.
Instead of saving money.
Yeah, you're going for abundance versus scarcity. Another cliche.
Yeah. But they're cliches for a reason, right?
Because
like,
they're true.
Yeah, and it's just like when I'm thinking about buying a house now, and I'm like, oh, $400,000 a house on a house. It's like, well, that's not actually, like, in the grand scheme of things, if I'm going to make $1 billion,
right,
$400K isn't that much. So whatever.
Yeah, the way that I had this word pop into my mind that kind of accurately describes how I look at money. Again, shower thoughts, because that's when all the best thoughts happen. I view money in terms of, like, I don't look at dollars or income or expenses, like the way that I kind of look at it, because for everyone it's completely relative, right? Your quality of life, your income, whatever. Like, I've been 6 figures plus, and my quality of life was not significantly different than making 30 grand.
Yeah.
So the way that I see it is burn rate, which is kind of like a tech firm terminology. Like, what's your burn rate?
Yeah.
Burn rate means, you've quote unquote raised capital. So let's say you've raised $1 million. Your burn rate is $22,000 a month is what you spend to exist.
Yeah. How many months are you going to burn through that money that you have?
And this is like money. This is survival cash. This is not like, this is not CapEx, capital expenditures. This is not reinvestment. This is not
inventory, production, etc. This is how much does the rent cost? How much does the staff cost?
Burn rate would include inventory and production, but only like maintenance. Wouldn't include expansion. So money for tomorrow, money for growth does not count in burn rate.
Yeah.
So even if I have $0 left over at the end of the month, but 10% of my money went into investments, my burn rate is 90, even if I have $0 left over.
Yeah.
Or burn rate's 110 because I went into debt for my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Or because it's Christmas and I had to buy a shitload of presents.
Yeah.
So however you define it, like, that's how I look at money, and I find that to be a much less stressful way of looking at money, because it's a little bit more esoteric and doesn't seem so crippling. Like,
well, especially as I've gotten older, money becomes more esoteric, I think.
And it's something, like, the other thing about it that I like is it's something you can burn, and that's just what it's for.
That's actually not a bad...
money's not spiritual. It's not to be coveted and held. Like, it's meant to be earned and churned and burned. That's what it's for.
Here's something toxic that I did right when I moved out of my house. I wouldn't want to go on a trip because I'm paying this much for rent.
Right.
I wanted to live in that house for that amount of time.
Yeah.
That's fucking toxic as fuck.
Exactly. That's why the more general explanations of these things, like, this is how rich people look at their money. It's like, it's how much do they earn, how much do you churn, how much do you burn. Like, churn rate is also like I think it's like the margin of how much you take in versus your output. Or no, churn is usually actually staff overturn rate. What do you call it? Not overturn. What do you call it? I don't know. How fast you cycle through human beings.
Wow.
Churn rate.
Did you see that Amazon released a report? It was an internal report, but it got leaked.
Mm-hmm.
They're worried about running out of human beings on the earth.
Yeah, because they're
cycling so many...
Their business model is predicated on...
Milk someone for 3 months, get high productivity out of them, they hate the job, leave, and then hire a new person.
Well, also it's on the... You know when you start a job and you have that, like, beginner's energy, and you have all this productivity? That's what their business model is predicated on, is that manic energy when you get a new position. So mature companies, stable companies, healthy companies, wealthy companies have a reasonable amount of productivity that can be reasonably expected from a person for a very long, sustainable period of time. And that's, everyone agrees that, yes, this is okay, we can do this. Amazon is fighting unionization because they want to fight longevity. They want to fight this long-term way of thinking for their people. Which is why, like, Amazon grew. Like, Amazon used to be, like, a tech company, not a super rich company like it is now. But they've reached this level of growth through just, like, chewing through human beings and their energy. Like, it's fucking genius if you think about it in terms of growth. But it's not fucking sustainable. And yes, they will absolutely run out of people. And the thing is about Amazon, they cannot outsource this labor to another country. It has to be localized.
Yeah.
So yes, they are going to 100% run out of people until they change their business model.
Which, as a hyper-capitalist myself, capitalism...
I don't think you're a hyper-capitalist, but go on.
Capitalism is based on infinite abundance when infinite abundance does not exist.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically it does in space.
No, but you're going to burn, just like we're talking about, you're going to burn through employees. Like, it's
right.
just, like...
Yeah, people aren't infinite.
People aren't infinite, and...
Birth rates are collapsing.
Resources. Like, it's just, it is what it is. But back to money toxicity. I remember I had a girlfriend when I was young.
Oh?
That part of the reason...
That was problematic.
Part of the reason we broke up was... She's like a communist type now, but I guess when we were younger, you don't really know what your political beliefs are, right? When you're a teenager. But I remember when I started getting into business and interested in money and business, I remember her in an argument, she said something to the effect of like, "You're just fucking obsessed with money." And I remember like retorting like, "You're the one that fucking cries because she's stressed about paying bills. Like, you sound like you're obsessed with money. I don't give a fuck about money."
Yeah.
Like, money is not even like, I know people.
Money's not the point.
I know people that, that's all they fucking think about.
Yeah.
Is how they're going to pay their bills, and they sit down and they budget every night, and they're stressing, and then they fucking order skip once and they cry afterwards because they spent fucking...
And then take a mental health day and don't show up for work because...
Yeah, because...
Yeah, because... And yeah, you take a day off of work, you do all these things, you spend this extra money to cope with the fact that you're so stressed about money. Like... I don't know if that's a factor of nature or nurture.
And then it's, the irony of like someone like that, but I'll spot, like, this is just a personal experience, but I'll speak more broadly, is like people, with that kind of political belief being like, you're fucking obsessed with money, but it's like, I don't give a fuck about money. Like, I personally, right now.
Like, almost to your detriment, and to mine as well, yeah.
Yeah, fuck it.
Because when you're... I've realized that my mindset, like, I've gone through cycles of like, I want to become a billionaire, to like, I don't care if I ever make a lot of money, like, I just want to do something that I love.
See,
and now I've kind of like curved back towards billionaire, because I realized that my entire mindset of how I think about generosity, of how I think about I always live with the idea of like, I want to be able to give a lot. I love to give. And that mindset does not fit with someone that's just going to have a typical set of resources.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't suit my personality. It doesn't suit my mindset.
It doesn't Wolf of Wall Street, they said, like, being rich makes you a better person. You can give more to your church, give more to charity. Like,
I mean, watch the movie and see if that's true. I'm not saying money is the solution to becoming a better person. I'm just saying, for my personal skill set, mindset, experience, whatever, this is what's relevant for me. And it's not that I ought to be a billionaire. Like, honestly, $1 million is fucking astronomical to me. And I think I kind of came back around to the idea that I need, like, if you want to become the kind of person that's like, you're not worried about money, but also you're not making a lot of money. It's like you're on a stable salary. It's like you could take out a pad of paper. You could track, or you could project your timeline of your life. You're like, at this point in my life, I could afford the Jag. At this point in my life, I'm going to be able to afford this private golf course place. And at this point, I'm going to cut back my hours. And at this point, I'm going to retire. Like, sure, it's great to have milestones and goals and everything, but like to know with definition that it's going to happen, like that career set is just, that's too much predictability for me. It's going to drive me insane.
When I never say I want to, you just said like I don't know. Sometimes I don't want to be a billionaire or whatever. Like I never say I want to be a billionaire either. I say I am going to be one.
Right.
It's just gonna happen. It's not like I'm fucking.
That's a fair point.
Up awake at night being like, oh, I need to become one. It's like, it's just gonna happen. I know it, and that's always how I phrase it. And that's part of manifesting as well. Is that I don't say I want to be a billionaire. I say I will be, or I am. Fuck it. Like, it's just because of exactly what you're saying. Like, because of my skills in the world and what I'm good at. I'm good at making connections, and I'm good at making deals, and I'm good at sales, and I'm good at being able to identify things with huge upside. Like, all my skills that I have in life are just gonna make me win at capitalism.
Yeah. No, you're 100%.
And I've talked about it a bunch of times. Like, I would probably maybe not prefer, like, if we shift to a system that's not capitalism, if I don't get fucking gulagged or shot against the wall, I'm going to be just as happy because I'll make that work for me.
Fucking pivot, yeah.
But just the skills that I currently have just happen to make me the best at the system that's happening.
Yeah.
And that's just what it is.
Yeah.
And that's not, that's not me trying to, like, foster, be like, I need to win at this. It's just like, that's just what comes naturally. And that's fine.
Yeah, you're of that percentage of people that's competitive and will rise to the top because doing personality profiles is always interesting because everyone wants to be that category.
The alpha male.
Not the alpha male.
I wouldn't even say I'm an alpha male.
No, it has nothing to do with that. I was actually thinking, ironically, I was thinking about that on the way here of like, sometimes it pops into my head of like this quote from, I was going to go on this double date and this other guy said,
oh yeah, is he alpha bro?
Is he alpha bro? And I'm like, that just pops into my head sometimes. And I'm like,
that's so funny.
I just want to smack him.
It's like, what does that even mean though?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I just go over those questions in my head. I'm like, what does that mean? What is your definition?
Yeah.
Is this your definition? Because that's not fucking true.
What's your credit score, bro?
Yeah. What's
like, your net worth, bro?
No. Here's the best way to look at that. It's like alpha. What does it mean? What's like? How do you define that? What is your opinion? In your opinion, what is the etymology of alpha male?
You're asking me now?
No, I'm saying this is what you say to the guy, and then he fucking short circuits.
Yeah. Because you're fucking every second. You have to be an alpha.
That doesn't answer the etymology, but sure.
You have to be a sigma or more. Just kidding.
Exactly, the sigma grind set, baby.
Sigma grind set.
We officially had too much shitty whiskey shots.
I took another shot.
We never finished the pipeline conversation, by the way.
Who gives a fuck? I took another shot before this one.
Yeah.
I am drunk. I haven't eaten today. So we're taking another one. Cheers. This is the last of the whiskey. Then we're good. Cheers, my.
Don't say it.
I was gonna say the F word. That's a bit.
Oh, fuck me, that's awful. Why does this one get me so bad? Oh, Willows.
Hello.
That's a crime. That's alcohol abuse.
Yeah, it's been in the flask for a long time.
Oh, that's bad.
I haven't been drinking as much as I used to.
Yeah, I've been drinking more than normal. So I've been picking up your slack.
Do you think that's a do you think my mental health is getting better?
Yes.
So I'm drinking less? Or do you think my mental health is getting worse so I'm drinking less?
No, I think you're improving.
Thank you, Tyler.
And we haven't talked about your I'm going to kill myself scale in months, so.
So we have a weekly mastermind call. If you're a follower of this podcast, you probably know Tyler and myself, and then two of our other friends. And we used to do at the beginning of the podcast, or probably at the end of the podcast, at the end of the mastermind call. It's usually a 2 or 3 hour Skype call it's actually on Discord, but whatever, video call between the four of us, where some days we have a structured topic, some days we just play a fucking Jackbox game. It's meant to stimulate our minds. Like yesterday we did an escape room. Tuesdays are Mastermind day. So we went because Jean-Luc, who previously lived in BC, now lives in Winnipeg with us.
So we had a healthy mix of solving problems and breaking rules, which is very us.
So that was fun. We can talk about that in a sec. But so on the Mastermind call, we used to do a weekly bit where at the end, Mitchell, it was usually Mitchell, that would ask me how close I was to killing myself.
Well, not he wouldn't just ask it out of the blue. You would say it. You'd volunteered that, but he would check in.
He would be the one to like bring up. He's like, "What's your suicide percentage today, Willows?"
And you were being only a little bit facetious.
Yeah. I'm probably wouldn't kill myself. No, I would not. I've never.
But you've unironically dealt with suicidal thoughts.
Yeah, I think the suicide, the closest I ever got, which was my lowest point, you remember, was more of an attention thing. Not an attention necessarily, but it was a cry for help. Mm-hmm. Which I realized. I probably realized while I was doing. I wasn't gonna fucking kill myself. Like, let's be realistic.
But that doesn't matter in the moment.
No.
Because someone is doing it for a cry for help doesn't make their cry for help irrelevant.
That was my bottom. That was 2020. It was pre-COVID, I think.
Yeah, I'd say 19.
Yeah, it was right after my brother died, and then I was in a long-term relationship that ended as well around that time.
That was during my couch surfing days.
And then also, and then the business was not doing well. I was just not in a great spot. That was before I was going to therapy, if I recall, or it had been 1 or 2 times.
Before therapy got canceled by COVID?
Yeah, I haven't seen my therapist in fucking 2 years. I text him every so often, but he's like, we'll do Zoom. I'm like, I don't want to fucking do therapy over Zoom, man. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Which is ironic because I've been doing better.
Yeah.
And I haven't even tried to do better.
Our Mastermind is therapy.
Yeah, honestly. This helps me too. I get a lot of thoughts, but
that's true.
Anyway, but yeah, that was, and then I called you and was basically like, I'm gonna kill myself.
Oh, I remember.
And then and then Mitchell and Sophie, who I lived with at the time, took me and
because I called them.
Yeah, I know. And
I'm like,
and then we played cribbage.
Oh, and that didn't lead to suicide.
And I was very drunk, and I didn't know how to really play, and Mitchell kept looking at my hand to tell me what to do.
Sounds like Mitch.
So,
Mitch is a good guy.
Yeah, all you people helped me through that, and there hasn't been a maybe just time heals all wounds kind of thing, right? There hasn't been me sitting down and being like, I need to learn better coping mechanisms. I need to drink less. My therapist was telling me, he's like, take 1 day a week and don't drink.
Right.
Because I drink, we are literally running a podcast where the theme is we drink.
Yeah.
But I have never felt like it was I don't know how you interpret my alcoholism, but I never thought I never thought it was affecting it was definitely affecting my mental health, but it was never affecting my performance in life. I was drinking a lot, probably, when I say a lot, it was probably 15 drinks a day and then 40 on the weekends.
Right.
On Friday, Saturday when I was partying.
Yeah.
And that's not an exaggeration.
No, I believe you.
I was drinking a lot.
As you notice, if you're watching the video, my eyes did not even there's no reaction.
No, I'm being serious. That was probably, and I always talk about this. I think I've told this story here. I went for in my trap house days, there was a few questionable decisions, let's say.
A few. So
I went into a clinic one time to get a STI test. And, pee in the cup and everything, right? And results came back, and he was like, Doctor. This is a man I don't know, obviously, right? Because I just went to a walk-in. Doctor was something like, yeah, like you're clean, but some of I forget what it was, but some science shit. But it was like there's some like acid in your piss that your normal sober blood is like you've had 5 or 6 drinks.
Yeah, there's liver
Uptake,
liver
like,
stress markers.
Yeah, in your piss.
Yeah.
So I want to do like some more tests. I want to like admit you, and I'm like, and this was, bear in mind, this
like
was
it's bad enough that you need to be admitted.
Yeah, but
which is significant.
Well, no, because if I had no alcohol in my system, right, and this was like 8 or 9 a.m.
Yeah.
So he was, and I'm like, what if I've had 5 or 6 drinks today? And he's just like lowered the glasses to his nose. Okay, have a nice day. You're clean.
You're fine. And also,
fine.
I would like to add to this. Willows has gotten a cleaner bill of health than me for life insurance.
Oh yeah. So I did.
You have a better rating than I do.
Yeah,
and I'm fucking fit,
dude.
It's because I have heart disease in my family and strokes.
I never fucking work out. And I eat like shit. I've been getting better with that, but
you had 0 flags on your blood test.
Yeah, so I had to do a blood test for
amazing.
my corporation took out a life insurance policy on me. And before you can do that, you have to take you have to do a physical. Actually, I didn't do a physical because of COVID, but they just did a blood test,
which is the important part.
Yeah, so so I did a blood test and it came back everything working fine. And then I sent a screenshot of my results and you were like, those are better than my results. I
was like, bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I went through the similar.
That's
similar
funny.
test.
Yeah, because you're probably like 80 pounds lighter than I am.
I'm significantly healthier than you.
Significantly.
Like
yeah.
my abs are showing.
Yeah. And I am a chubby little freaking alcoholic.
But I've got family history, which trumps all.
I don't know my family.
Yeah, exactly. So genetics trumps all when it comes to medical.
My father died when he was like 30, I think.
But why?
Murder. Drug overdose? Something like that.
Not exactly.
I didn't know him.
So you're fine.
I never met him.
My dad had a stroke when he's 32 and now I'm fucked.
Yeah, I was adopted and I don't know
much.
My mother is disabled. My birth mother is disabled severely though.
In what manner?
Like her entire one side of her body doesn't work. I think like fetal alcohol syndrome.
That okay.
She was 15 and my father was 35 and married.
How do I not know this?
You do. Well, I don't know if you know this. Retained it, but I've definitely told you. And then
you probably told me when I'm like 17 drinks deep, and you're like, now it's time to open up.
My adoptive mother was my birth mother's teacher.
Okay.
And that's how they knew each other.
That's not typical.
My birth mother was pregnant, and she's like, "Holy shit, I have to get rid of this kid." And my mother had been trying to conceive for like 5 years and couldn't.
Right.
So adopted me.
What age?
Before I was born.
15.
Oh, my mother?
Yeah.
Before like 18, I think. By the time she was actually, the gestation period was over. I think like 17, 18.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know any of my fucking family. So I don't know any of my genetics. And then I guess ironically,
and I have too much family to handle, man. I just like opt out of my family because there's just too much.
Well, I hang out with my my adoptive family is what I call my family, right?
Even like my blood relatives. If I just go first cousins circle, I'm at over 100 people.
Yeah.
If I go second cousins, I'm at over like 600.
Yeah.
And most of them are not Canadian.
And then there's Zach doesn't have a single first cousin.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
my business partner.
If I count like in-laws, I'm over 100 on first cousins.
But Lord knows that man's related to his family.
Fucking right he is.
Because you see his father and his grandfather, and they're literally identical.
Yeah.
I remember the story I always tell is they were fucking. I don't know why I was there, but they were like taking something out of the back of a car, and like one of them dropped it, whatever they were carrying. It was like a piece of furniture. And Zach's dad goes in the same voice. I always mimic it. Zachary, And then his grandfather goes, Jeffrey! And then Isaacs goes, Grandpa! In the same voice at the same time.
Fucking brilliant,
and
dude.
it was like, yeah, these people are related. But anyway, I never really made a sat down where I'm like, I need to get over my mental health problems now.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. Maybe it was like I got more successful with the business. That definitely helped because I definitely pour myself into my work.
I would say you didn't have that moment because we openly discuss mental health so frequently that it wasn't required.
Me and you, or like all
in
of
general.
us? Yeah.
Like you talk about it openly
with
people that you trust.
Yeah.
And I talk about it openly with people that I trust.
I just talked about it into a fucking microphone. This is going on the internet, right?
Right. So we're not.
I don't think it's something you should be ashamed about.
No, I don't think we're burdened with these oh, I had a breakthrough. It's like what is a breakthrough? It's like I have a breakthrough every week or never.
Sure.
Also, like I have a breakthrough every week and never.
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing as a breakthrough. I'm always breaking through. Like what does that even mean? Like I think it kind of falls into the category where we've got a really healthy group of friends where we could like go to an escape room and go to a bar and like not talk about anything.
Yeah.
But also if you in that same period of time had like a catastrophic mental breakdown and like just needed to open up, the entire group would just like
would have just pivoted to be there.
Would have just pivoted and just like told that waiter to go fuck himself and go get like a bottle of tequila. It would have like it whatever you need at whatever this time space is. We've had some of these mastermind calls where they've ended in tears.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or
for
like
sure.
not ended in tears but had tears in them.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've had many that we're
just
bored.
fucking around on GeoGuessr, or bored. We don't know what to do.
Bored or drunk or like a loss for words.
Which is why I think it's important that we do it every week.
Yeah.
Which I think has been a tip on this podcast before was
do it every week.
Put consistent effort into something.
So, on that note, I want to bring up. So today, we're in the midst of prepping for the ski trip.
Yeah.
And I have so many things to do, and I never have any time for them because my schedule's full. So I gotta pack all my clothes and stuff for the trip, which is not that much work. But I gotta get all my snowboarding gear, which is half of it's at Carly's parents' house, half of it's at her brother's house, and another part of it might also be at her other brother's house. So there's a lot of driving around the city, and then I got to do fucking grocery shopping. I gotta pack all my spices, all my cooking stuff, because I'm making meals. Like, there's a bunch of things I gotta do. It's like 3-4 hours of shit. And right after work, I got home at like, 7 o'clock tonight. I'm like, Willows, I have 4 hours of shit to do by 10 a.m. tomorrow.
And I just said,
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I don't know if I can do the podcast.
And I sent the Yes Chad meme where it's just the guy, the cartoon with the beard that says yes.
Yeah, you were not giving any direct answers, being yourself.
No, I wanted you to say it.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't want to be
did.
like, are you canceling? No, I wanted you to fucking say it.
No, but I had to work through it. So
well, yeah, and that's what I said at the end. It was funny because you said, I need to do all this, and I'm like, yes, you do need to do all that. And you're like, yeah, I need to do it all before 10 a.m. And I'm like, true. And then you're like, so I'm going to be like an hour late. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't even have to fucking convince you. Like,
so
not to...
This argument has happened. This is where I'm going with this. This argument has happened so frequently,
me and you,
that it doesn't have to happen anymore.
Yeah. It's, you probably try to cancel the podcast once a month.
Not once a month.
And you've only successfully done it, I think, twice. And, like, both were, like, pretty reasonable. One was, like, terrible road conditions. And one was, like, something.
I don't even remember either.
You were out of town a couple weeks ago.
Okay, well, that was really
no, but I think there was another canceled one that was like, I was pissed, but I was like, yeah, fine.
Whatever. But no, either way, you don't have to argue anymore because I know everything you're going to say, and I know that you just like don't accept any excuses or explanations.
Yeah, I think my response was, we're going away for 4 days. Why do you need to pack?
Sure.
Just wear the fucking clothes you're wearing. Like, fuck.
Yeah, no, it's like it's all the running around, but
I know.
So I'm like, I worked it out. I'm like, okay, so I'll be an hour late. and then I'm packing after we finish tonight, and then grocery shopping tomorrow morning. Just whatever. As soon as
you wake up early anyway.
Yeah, I wake up early enough. So I'm like, okay.
I woke up at 2 p.m. today.
Yeah, so I'm usually up and working by 8 o'clock.
Yeah, when he was like, we need to be on the road by 11, I'm like, ugh.
It's hours. That's hours of productivity for me. So I will say props to Willows for being... No, you're making a face at me, and I knew you were going to. I'm going to make this weird because I think the listeners will love it.
Okay.
So I will give props to Willows for being the guy that is so fucking impossible to negotiate with, to reason with, at expense of everything, including rationality, will get done the thing that he said he was going to get done, or achieve the goal that was set out to be achieved. Like, reality be damned. Shit be getting done.
I'm like 50-50 we're in a simulation right now.
I know.
So, like, there's no part of me... I am molding my destiny exactly how I want it, and fuck you.
Reality be damned.
Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, no, and, like, it drives me...
I need to go to the store. No, fuck off.
What's the store? The store's not real. Yeah, no, reality be damned. Willows will get his shit done, and it's one of the things that I hate about you, but it's also something that I appreciate about you, because in this whole, like, interaction of this evening, I'm like, you know what? This is why Willows is a successful person. And I'm like, I'm a successful person because I'm like, I'm capable, I'm pretty good at... I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm a piece of shit, but I'm like, I'm better than most people in most things I do. And like, I'm skilled, I'm intelligent, I get shit done, I'm pretty determined, I have a good idea of what I want to do, I'm goal-oriented, I have all these things. Like, I have a mechanical intelligence advantage just genetically whenever I try shit. Willows
is bad at everything.
Is just fucking stubborn. He gets shit by sheer force of will, and... It's like, I sometimes have to remember that I lean into what's realistic, what's practicable, and I negotiate, I move in between, like, different wills of people. Like, and also, it's like, it's Willows versus my girlfriend. It's not Willows versus me.
Because I can make you pretty much do anything I want.
For sure. But so can Carly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so it's Willows versus Carly, but Willows usually wins because Carly's reasonable and Willows is not.
Yeah, and that's my biggest piece of advice. Every time someone
don't be fucking reasonable.
Every time someone asks me for fucking business advice, I say show up every goddamn day and just do it.
And fuck them all.
And fuck it, whatever.
So I just want to say, sometimes I forget it because we're good friends.
Yeah.
And I like to think of you as an idiot.
Most people do, I think. I think I'm severely...
No, I think a lot of people think of you as successful.
I think...
It's hard to adjust to the fact, but
I get severely underestimated, I think.
Yes, but also you get legitimately acknowledged, including by the press currently.
Oh, whatever.
Which
it's
is
just
great.
The press. What? I'm in the fucking paper every week, and people start thinking you're successful, huh?
Right. But, like, the fact that people never believe, like, and I think this is a really shitty quality of human beings, is people never believe that their best friends are capable of more than they currently do. You're like, oh no, you're that person, you're in this box, and that's who you that's where you belong.
The reason I'm so mean to you is because I know you're capable of more than you're.
Yeah, I know,
doing.
and
that's always why. Like,
see, you're mean to me in a funny way. Isaac's is mean to me in an unfunny way.
Yeah, but he's
just
because what he is. But,
yeah, I know.
But like, for instance,
guys do the same shit though.
For instance, yesterday we were roasting you about the fucking car.
Yeah.
Because he has this car that he bought that for the record, he loaned money for me to buy.
Yeah.
That he was gonna flip and repair, and it's just been sitting in your.
No, I never intended to flip it.
And it's just been sitting in your fucking driveway for a year.
Yeah.
And And we were like, and you're like, yeah, once the snow melts. And I'm like, yeah, once the fucking snow melts, there's going to be then there's another excuse to fucking not do it or whatever. And I mean you.
And of course, Carly piles on.
Yeah, of course, because she's pissed off.
She kind of defends me, but she also piles on. She rides the fence.
Well, I constantly am mean to you because I know you're capable of great things. So when you're, for instance, being like, I'm going to talk myself out of my business and go work for somebody. I'm like, how about you're the dumbest.
Fuck you piece of shit.
You're the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. And that's why when you're like, oh, I have this fucking agreement, I'm like, get it in writing. And you're like, I don't need to get it in writing. I'm like, get it in fucking writing. Like, because I know you're capable of a lot. And I want to see you hit that potential. And if I didn't think you weren't capable, number one, I wouldn't be hanging out with you. But if I was hanging out with you, I wouldn't give you advice. Yeah, because I'm like, you're not going to fucking follow it anyway.
Yeah, your friends are going to be the worst and best people in your life. And like, you and Isaacs do the same, except you do it with comedy and Isaacs does it just fucking hard hammer drop.
I'm funny.
I know.
I can name 3 times Isaacs has been funny in the last 20 years.
And I was there for 2 of them.
Maybe. He did this Yogi Bear impression one time. It was pretty good.
I wasn't there for that one.
No, I was in high school.
But I would just like to say, just look at your relationships with your friends.
Do you want this to be your tip of the week? Should we transfer into
sure.
So we're going to transfer here into the segment that we call Tip of the Week. Top of the morning, top of the morning, tip of the morning, tip of the week, tip of the week, tip of the week. That's like the 3rd episode in a row. It's this I can't get it out of my head. It's like a Kendrick Lamar song. And I don't know the context. I just see it on TikTok all the time. But he's like top of the morning, like fucking Irish people. He's like top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning, top, and it's like doesn't make any sense. But anyway,
it's Kendrick. It's fine.
So tip of the week, tip of the week, tip of the week in the same cadence. Anyway, but this is the segment that we call that Tip of the Week, formerly Business Tip of the Week, where Tyler and I give you a life tip of something that we are currently going through in life or business. And you were in the middle of your thoughts, so go ahead.
So think about what your friends are trying to do right now. And think about all the ways that you've maybe passive-aggressively discouraged them because they fucked up before. And they've tried to do this thing. And when they say they're going to do it, you're like, no, you won't, you piece of shit. I know you won't because I know you. And I already know what you're thinking. Rethink that and instead try to enable that person, that friend, to do that better thing, because it's really difficult, because everyone fears their friends growing or outgrowing them. And it's a real fear for entrepreneurs, which is why a lot of them are fucking petty and shitty human beings. And gratefully, I've cut all those people out of my life.
Yeah, we're not like that.
We're not like, but we will have those moments, but we will not sustain them.
We
will not entertain those moments.
I said this a couple episodes ago. I saw a TikTok that was like, whenever something happens, you're allowed 10 minutes to be emotional about it.
Right.
And then you have to focus and make a business decision. And there's probably 10 minutes where I get jealous of some people. Most of my close friends, career-wise, I'm way ahead of them. Like, there's barely any, there's not a single person I spend a lot of time with that has a fucking more established brand or business than I do.
No.
But, every so often though, but I'll have like one of our good friends be like, oh, I had a threesome last night. And I'm like, fuck.
One of our friends.
Just jail. But I didn't want to say his name, but yeah. And I'm like, fuck, I wish that was me. And I get a little bit jealous. And I'm like, oh, if I was handsome, like he's just the most. I post jail on my fucking Snapchat.
He's exceptionally fuckable.
I post him on my Snapchat, and I get girls being like, "Who's your friend?"
Half of Carly's friends are literally salivating at the idea that he's moved to town.
I always respond that he's gay.
Yeah, he's gay or he's a commie.
No, they don't give a shit about politics.
That's fair.
So I'm like, no, he's gay. Don't worry. And then they're like, I can turn him, and I'm like, okay, stop. But
please,
like, I never confidence wise, I get laid enough.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking out there, different girl every night, but like I get laid enough that I'm not impacted it on my confidence.
Yeah.
But every so often,
you have the moment. You have the reaction.
Every so often, I'm like, man, I wish I was handsome. Like,
wish I had game like that. Yeah.
Well, and then people are like, well, then you can cut your hair and shave, and I'm like, well, you can go fuck yourself.
That sounds like a fuck you.
Yeah. So obviously, if I cared enough, I would like work out and like cut my hair. But
that's not the brand.
But in the same breath, though, you have that animal part of you where you see somebody that has something that you want.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck that guy.
And it could be something you don't even value, but it's something you want.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole covet thy neighbor's goods, right? Where it's like, you see your fucking neighbor with a new boat, and you're like, fuck, I'm way smarter than that guy. Why the fuck can't I afford a new boat? And you're pissed off for a second, right? And I think that's more or less natural, but what would be not unnatural, but what would be unacceptable for us as friends, us being ourselves and our... We have a group of like probably 7 friends that are like
growing.
That are super tight, right?
Yeah.
And we're all relatively successful, A-type personality, like whatever, plus the girlfriends. But it's none of us would like actively sabotage one of the other ones because they have something we want.
No, never.
But I think
if someone did, they would be fucking crucified by the other people.
But do you think the average person does shit like that?
No.
I don't know about that. I know a bunch of people.
Or sorry, the average person sabotages their friends?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like,
oh, sorry. I can say that average person doesn't. I was thinking double negatives.
Sorry. No, I know so many people, especially like people I used to party with.
Yeah, it's human nature.
That would like...
Unless you're conscious of this principle, you do it.
Their best friends, when they're not there, would just talk shit on them and fucking be like, yeah, I told that fucking guy she's talking to that she has herpes because like, whatever. I saw him first and like, whatever.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like
you having these arguments with me about, doing the podcast this week because we have to, like, these conversations are not in themselves that important, but they're representative.
The mindset, I think.
Of the mindset, yeah.
Where the whole point of the reason why I hold you to that, well, we hold each other to it.
Yeah.
Every week. But there's definitely weeks where I'm like super low energy and I'm like, I don't really want to fucking do this and I don't want to do the mastermind, but it's like, we gotta.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing is like, well, nothing happens if we don't. It's not like me and you have a huge audience on this podcast that'll be fucking...
sad.
Or we make a living off this podcast. Like, none of that is true. Nothing really happens if we take a week off. But that whole just routine, and not only just the routine, but just like slow progress towards something.
Yeah, the principle of commitment
is I can't overstate how important. Like, I think almost a core tenet of almost everything I believe.
So if you start a podcast per se and it's not successful and it just kind of fades out because it doesn't matter that much and you go from like weekly to like every other week to monthly to like every couple months, that's a fucking failure, abject failure in every respect.
Of course.
If you have a podcast that you do weekly that doesn't make it and then you quit it and then reinvest the time in something else, that's a different story than the person that faded out.
Yeah, and we might stop doing this at some point and change into something else. I personally, at this level of success and personal life, like, we don't have kids or anything, right? Like,
yeah, this is fine.
This level, I think, is not only important, but I think is very, very good for my mental health, for my keeping a routine, kind of like having this is like something I do weekly. Then it's like when I have to do something business related, it's like, well, I fucking do the podcast weekly. Why can't I do this weekly? It's like it helps in more ways than one. And when we started this, we kind of framed it even as like, this is the conversations that we have on this podcast were the conversations we were having in the bar once a week when we would go and try a new bar. And that's how we started this, was exactly that idea.
Yeah.
So it's like fucking just do it in front of mics.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking big time commitment for us.
And I think it's a pretty fun mindset doing this in front of a microphone. You speak differently.
Yeah. And I think it's
and our improv cadence,
we've gotten much better at fucking talking, I think.
So one of the things that is most cringy, one of the cringiest things about podcasts is when hosts or like co-hosts talk over each other.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things I can be proud of.
What do you mean?
See, we didn't even overlap.
What is... Shit! We're getting good at it. Shit!
We don't even overlap. Like
Every so often I'll try to fucking get a side note in, but yeah, we're pretty good at...
See, I cut off as soon as you cut in.
Yeah.
Like we have a really, really, really sharp cadence. And I was telling a story to Dom today, one of my workers.
And we're pretty good at when we look at each other when we're talking. Because we've purposely set these mics up so we can make eye contact while we're having conversation.
Yeah.
And we have a good way of like subconscious.
We just know each other.
Exactly. See, you know when you like have a girlfriend for a long time and then you can tell what she's saying with her eyes,
but never ever when she's horny.
Wait, girls you date are horny?
Anyways,
but you can kind of tell with our eyes when I want to interject and say something quick.
Yeah.
And then we just do it. And yeah, no, I think we've gotten.
So I was explaining a story about like us doing our weekly sales pitches to restaurant managers or servers.
Those were fun.
And I was like the unconscious sales pitch we would run where I would brag you up. I'd be like, oh yeah, so this guy he's like the biggest winemaker in the province.
And then I'm like, no, shut the fuck up, man. We're out for drinks. Like,
shh, just enjoy your food. And the server would be like, oh, tell me more. And I'd go into the pitch, but I don't know very much.
Yeah.
So I just kind of give like.
And then I would like correct you.
I give the soft pitch. Yeah, you do some corrections.
Pitch, yeah.
And then we get the restaurant manager over. The restaurant manager would come over, and then we kind of do the same bit. And then as soon as the person was engaged, she'd like, oh, okay. It would like pull up a chair, sit down, and then boom, Willows would switch on.
Yeah.
Go hard pitch.
Yeah.
And it was like, boom, closed.
Yeah.
And it
worked. I got talked in a bunch of places early in the business. Yeah. And then COVID.
Yeah, but we had a really good cadence going.
And I don't think we ever talked about that, though.
We never did.
We just did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
Dude, certainly we're going to start a business together at some point.
Certainly.
We'll figure it out, right? We're going to kill it.
It'll probably be a cult.
I wish.
Sex cult.
Never mind. Never mind. My tip of the week.
Yeah, let's get to that.
Be goddamn relentless. You can overpower mentally.
The capable?
Mentally. The capable. You can fucking convince somebody over their girlfriend to go do something just by being unrealistic. Someone told me that sometime.
Was it today?
Was it 5 minutes ago? Yes. Every single tenant of business. I have never gone to school. I've never read a book. I've never even been on the internet. But I just know in my heart that we are in a simulation and nothing matters. No, I don't know. It's just like exactly what you were saying when you were complimenting me. You also called me you called me your best friend last episode. And it was like, did you just call me your best friend? And you're like, no.
Fuck you.
Yeah. And
it's a problem I have. We're working on it.
What does that mean?
I can't verbally show appreciation for anyone, including my girlfriend.
Yeah, I constantly make you say I love you back. And I'm like, I'm not getting off the fucking phone until you say I love you back.
Yeah, and I hang out with JL one time, and then all of a sudden I got like a month of making up to do with my girlfriend because he's complimented her aggressively.
There's a lot of threesome jokes there, but I'm just going to move on. I think that Tyler believes that, and Tyler's smarter than I am. Well, everyone's smarter than me. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people are smarter than me. But Tyler believes that my success purely comes from because I just don't think anything is real. And I'm just like, nah, it's fucking happening. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Have that fucking mentality, even on a smaller scale. But like, you want something to happen. It's your, like, it's important. And if it's important to you, it could be important to other people. And, you know, I obviously make it important to me. It's not like there's sometimes Tyler's like trying to cancel the podcast because it's not important to him anymore. It's just because something's happening or whatever. Yeah. But having that adamant mentality where I'm like, no, this is important.
You have to reiterate the importance because you forget.
Yeah. And I think that is a good tip to live by, is that's with anything, is that like, I'm trying to compare it to more things. Like, let's say relationship wise, it's like, you know, if your partner's love language is, you know, words of affirmation or everything, it's like they need that every day. Yeah. And that's just because that's what their love language is. And in business, it's like, you know, doing a good tenant, like having a good, I always say you're only as funky as your last cut. They say that with music, or I've been watching The Sopranos recently. They said you're only as good as your last envelope. Yeah. Is like, no one gives a fuck what happened in previously in your business. It's what's happening right now. Yeah. What just happened. And sometimes you got to keep reiterating how important this is, and we got to do it, and like, and then do it. And that's another part of this, is like, you have to execute, right? Because we can talk about how good the podcast is and how important it is, but if we don't execute, we're not executing. So fucking execute and be relentless, and don't fucking, we literally don't exist. We're a fucking bunch of random little boys living on a freaking boy planet.
If you're going to insult my episode or insult my podcast, contact me at episode 60 and tell me your opinion.
Okay. But I don't know if they can comment anywhere. YouTube, I guess.
Honestly, I don't care. But no, the point is, like, if you're going to criticize something, like, legitimately, criticize me at episode 60, and I'll be like, okay, that's a legitimate criticism.
We are at episode 60 next episode.
Never, like, if you're going to criticize the idea or the structure or the execution of podcast, like, following through this many episodes, like, it's more valuable than your idea of a perfect podcast.
Yeah, fuck it.
You know what Joe Rogan's perfect idea of a podcast? Get fucked, talk to friends. Turned into get fucked, talk to experts. Turned into talk to experts, get world famous.
Well, and you know,
get hundreds of millions of dollars.
I've actually got viewers on this podcast. I don't know if they stayed viewers, but I've actually had listeners on this podcast that came from my success in business. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I was at like a market, and there was another vendor there that was always interested in what I was doing. And I was talking to one of my friends. I'm like, oh yeah, this episode of the podcast, like we were doing this. And then later in the parking lot when I was packing up, he's like, did I hear you earlier? You said I had a like person I never met before. He's like, sorry, I was like, I like your stuff. I just, did I hear you had a podcast? I'm like, oh yeah, here's a link. He's like, oh man, fuck yeah, I'm gonna. And then like I saw him again like a month later, and he's like, dude, I was listening to that fucking episode on, this is a while ago, but he was like, oh, this theme, and I'm like, oh yeah, fuck yeah. But you know, the reason why these big 80% of the biggest podcasts on Spotify are already semi-successful and famous people being like, I'm starting a podcast now. Right. Most of the people, I think there's exceptions, start from no Instagram followers to a successful podcast.
Yeah, very few. And that window, I think, is pretty much gone.
Because of, well, number one, COVID, everyone started a fucking podcast. The market is super saturated right now.
3.5 million podcasts currently like existing in Spotify and SoundCloud and so on.
But so that leads me to believe that this is the least popular we'll ever be. Because as we get more successful in our own lives and our own businesses, and like I'm obviously more vocal on social media than you are, but as I get more famous, like I'm in the news I'm not jerking myself off. I'm literally in the news every week. I'm on national TV and radio a couple weeks in a row. I was in the paper. I just did an interview 2 days ago for a story coming out next week.
Should start just releasing hot takes on everything, like the fucking truckers convoy.
Okay, I'm not like off topic, but I do give hot takes. Like people, like I think they trust that now.
So you should give a hot take. Be like, you know what? They have the right to protest. Fuck your police.
And that's why I said on my podcast. Anyway, but the fact that I'm getting more media attention, if people follow me, because of that attention. They're like, who the fuck is this guy? And they're like, oh, he has a podcast. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the more famous we get and the more money we make, the better this podcast is going to do. And that's the statistics.
Wow, episode 73?
This is episode 59 right now. And by, who knows, right? We're doing...
Probably episode 69 it'll blow up.
We'll probably do, let's say, 50, maybe a little bit less, 45 a year with all the ones we skip.
About.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like we're less than 200.
That's a lot.
In like 3 years from now. But it's not, though. You ever fucking listen to a podcast? You ever discover a podcast and you go in and it's like, oh, this is like the 1,000th episode?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%.
That happens all the time to me. Like,
most shows I've discovered is at third or fourth or fifth year.
What I'm saying, we're still little babies.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about you. I like doing this.
Yep.
Also, I do all the fucking work. I paid for the mics and I edit all the fucking podcasts, so.
Also, part of the negotiation today with girlfriend was, she's like, what is like Willows? She's like, what is Willows like? Are you... Or, like, is Willows making you do it again? I just looked at her, I'm like, you know what? Let's consider the fact that I also want to do this.
Good.
And she's like, I guess so.
I'm the bad guy here.
Yeah, and I'm like, let's consider that I'm also
to
invested
be fair,
in this.
This currently might be a manufacturer of my own design, because when your girlfriend sat down at dinner last night, I said, oh, I thought this was a boys' night.
She's one of the boys.
Ugh.
She's wearing pants.
If she shows me her penis, I will let her into more stuff.
Bet.
That was problematic.
Fucking beep that entire thing out.
People with penises aren't necessarily men or women. Hold on. Men. I'll beep that out too.
Just beep this entire fucking thing.
Okay.
So thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. This has been Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where we do whatever. And my name is Willows. This is Tyler. Follow us, Alcohol Beyond This Point, on Instagram. And linktree.com/alcohol beyond this point.
Ooh.
I just made that recently, actually. Wow. It has...
so you can put it on our Instagram.
Yes, it is on our Instagram link. It has 20 links of apparently we're on like 20 different streaming services.
Nice.
Because I use the service called Anchor, which is owned by Spotify, which is awesome. Here's a fucking free sponsorship for Anchor. They just did an entire site redesign. It's fucking awesome now. So it's so much better than it was. You can while it's uploading, you can fucking do the descriptions and shit, which you had to not do before. And because there was only a create my podcast, we had to drop the audio and then upload it. There was not I'm like, dude, I'm doing this all fucking I'm editing it myself on Sony Vegas and shit. And I'm doing all the can I just upload it? Fuck off. So now it gives you that option to just upload it. You don't have to fucking create it.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah. Shout out Anchor. So when you upload there, they distribute it to all the streaming services they have partnership with. So that's how you're listening to us on all these different services.
I love SaaS companies because stuff like that, they're like, yeah, we know you've been asking for it, but it took us 18 months to roll it out.
Yeah.
So and finally it hits, and they're all celebrating because now it's out and all the bugs start to hit. So they get to fix shit for the next 18 months. Yeah,
but so I didn't even know how many services we were actually on until I was making this link tree, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw it on every link we have. And I'm like, streaming services I've never heard of. We're streaming on over 20.
Nice.
So go to linktree.com/alcohol beyond this point, and you can see exactly where we are. And then there's a link to our Instagram, Facebook, and our YouTube channel, which is actually my YouTube channel. But that's where these videos are, if you want to watch the video.
Including other questionable things.
Including a bunch of weird things. All our masterminds that we want to make public are public there as well. Every time we've done... GeoGuessr or Jackbox games, those are all uploaded there. I also I stream on Twitch occasionally, twitch.tv/votewillows. So there's some VODs there. And then I also do weird videos about whatever I fucking feel like. But thanks for checking that out. Answer the poll I have below this if you're listening on Spotify. comment on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, and let's get together
in the metaverse.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're going skiing this week. If we don't release any more podcasts after this, it's because we have literally died like Sonny Bono. Rest in peace.
Sonny Bono, who's that?
From YouTube?
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.